Ieva Sentivani, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself and my work. I am a hybrid. By that I mean I am not only bilingual, I am bicultural. Or maybe I should say tricultural, since I have become accustomed to studying the ancient Latvian culture. But be that as it may, I was born in Latvia. Most of my time I have spent out in the world, in the United States and Saudi Arabia. After 1992, I have spent half a year, every year, in Riga, in Latvia. So not all that much time in Latvia. But I would like to tell you about my work. That is more interesting than me. And what happened was that when I became acquainted with the world classical Western literature and the Bible, and of course I was reading the ancient Latvian poetry, it hit me that this ancient Latvian poetry of Latvia's was equivalent and in some ways surpassed the wisdom of the Bible. And it dealt with the same matters that classical Western literature does. And that I knew they should be right next door, right next with all the other classics of Western literature. And I was shocked to discover that it was not possible to read the Latvian poetry in English. And English, of course, is at present the language of the West. So I was expecting some wonderful, inspired Latvian poet to come and transpose them. Not translate them, I'm very particular about that, not translate them word for word, but transpose them in their entity, in the spirit, in the charm, and in the simple elegance that they possess in Latvian. And I waited and nothing happened, and I mumbled and I thought some nasty thoughts and still nothing happened. So I did what women always do. They step in to do that which needs doing and which nobody has done, and I'm not a poet. So I started working because I thought, what the heck, I know English. But I was told that it couldn't be done, that you couldn't translate them into English because it just couldn't be done. And I thought, nonsense. Shakespeare has written the most wonderful works in English, and I can't put 4 lines, a little quatrain, into English? Nonsense. Okay, let me try. Well, the results were a disaster. I was producing the harder I worked, the more junk I produced. It was nothing. I just repeated the contents of what the poet expressed. Not the mood, not the beauty, not the elegance. I was close to despair. This went on for years. I would work on it and I would leave it, and then I would come back and I would leave it and I would come back. It took 18 years till I finally was able to produce this book, The Wit and Wisdom of Ancient Latvian Literature. It was a birthday present for Latvia on its 100th birthday. Okay, I've told you my side of it, but I haven't told you why it's so wonderful. It's wonderful because of the high ethics. It's wonderful because of the breadth of topics. And it's wonderful because of the simplicity and elegance of language. And it's wonderful because of the warmth of the language. And that warmth was one of the stumbling blocks, because this warmth is conveyed by using the affectionate diminutive. Now the stress is on the affectionate, because they would say Dieviņš, not Dievs. Dievs is God. Dieviņš is dear God. And that doesn't make God smaller. It just expresses the affection they had for God. So it is the affectionate diminutive, and it is not supposed to make him small. And in one quatrain, you could have maybe 6 affectionate diminutives. We don't have them in English, except in baby talk, we say mommy. Well, when I'm transposing this, an adult is talking and wants to say my wonderful, sweet, adorable, dear mother. I can't say mommy. It sounds infantile. So this was one of the major obstacles to overcome. So of course I decided to substitute those affectionate terms like sweet and dear. But how many of them can you put in 4 lines without it being cloying? So these are some of the problems. Let me recite one. This is my favorite because this was the first one, after years of working, that sounded good to me. And this is a poem by an orphan child. And it goes approximately like this. Sweetest sun, so soon is setting. Abandoned in the shade am I. Dearest mother, gone forever. None to set me in the sun. So there is sweetest son, okay, and there is dearest mother. And this is how I tried to get around not having this lack in English. Well, of course, English used to have the diminutive. We still say lambkin, and we say leaflet, but that is small. It doesn't really have the tone of affection in it, so there's nothing I can do about it. Then I also wanted the aura of old times, so therefore I used thou and thee and thine. Convey that. And I just wish to express to you that living in the world of the DAINAS has given me another dimension, another culture, and it has given me a great deal of joy. In this book, Wit and Wisdom of Ancient Latvian Poetry, I have 450 of these DAINAS, and they are organized by topic. And they discuss the relationship of man to man, man to God, man to nature. They discuss the love of the country. They discuss about virtues, what it is, what it means to be virtuous. And you'd be very surprised about some of the virtues. One of the virtues is that of beauty. And what it meant was, it was to create and appreciate beauty. And I thought, well, that's not very important in survival, because their life was very, very rough, because for about 300 years they were serfs, and serfs is the equivalent of slaves, except they were usually sold together with the family and the property and the whole farmstead. But sometimes they were sold individually into slavery. While history is written by the victors, the DAINAS reflect what events actually meant to them. And so you have references to the bubonic plague, and you of course have a lot of DAINAS that reflect the life as a serf. But the historical perspective is not as important as the emotional aspect and the very high ethics. Whereas the Bible permits you to do anything to a person except kill him. You can cripple him, you can torture him, you can humiliate him, rape him, you can do anything you want, just leave him alone, leave him alive. The Latvian DAINAS says, do not step upon the weak. And this is repeated time and time again, do not step upon the weak. Sometimes it is do not step upon others, and sometimes it is do not step upon the weak. Now imagine the world if nobody would hurt those who are weaker. And we don't have to worry about what it means. In the New Testament we are ordered to love our neighbor as ourselves. And we wonder what it means. How can you love somebody who's nasty or who's evil? And what does it mean to love? But we don't have this philosophic disputes in the Latvian DAINAS. It says just don't step on others. Don't step on others. We understand what that means. So I would like to recommend to you to get a hold of this book, Wit and Wisdom. Although there are only 450, I'm working on volume 2. And when that comes out, there's going to be a grand total of over 1,000. So I recommend you get a hold of it and read it. Actually, this is the student's version. The other version is beautifully, elegantly bound, and it makes a wonderful gift. I I could talk for 3 hours about the DAINAS because I'm so in love with them, but I would suggest that you check them yourself. The point I want to make is, one at a time they won't make that much sense, because it's just like a few words out of the Bible. You have to cover quite a few of them, maybe one whole chapter of something, and then it'll start to make sense why I think they are so wonderful. So they are organized by chapter, and each chapter has a certain content. For instance, about God, about how to find a spouse, and what qualities were esteemed and which ones were not. So there are also witty ones and funny ones, and I think you will enjoy them. Thank you for your attention.